Welcome in to another edition of the Pick a Side podcast, a college football conference titles edition of the show. Shea, Norling, and Tyler Rocky with you as always, and we're available on YouTube, youtube.com/@PickASideESPN. Also available wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe. Leave us a comment on YouTube, like a video. It helps us out. We really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. Tyler, how are we feeling?
I'm good. I'm great. It's Champ Week.
It is.
And also, if you want to see our smiling faces,
Oh, good
you
call.
can come on out to Beck's in Lincoln Park this Saturday. We're going to be leading into the Big 12 championship at Beck's in Lincoln Park, which Texas Tech Bar. I didn't know we had those in these quarters.
Me either, but I'm excited because
Yeah, I am
that's going to be
too.
fun. Also, of note, well, we shamelessly plug ourselves. If you can't get enough of two assholes doing content, we'll also be on 8 to 11 for a special pregame.
I think that was too many pre's.
Was it
but
too
yeah,
many?
It may have
A
been too many.
pregame.
I think that was Meller's fantasy show you just bled us into.
That's okay. I mean, I love the Meller fantasy show. I'll leave it alone. No, I'm kidding. Pregame with me and Tyler on Sunday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. before Bears Packers.
Yes, cannot wait.
So we'll lead into Black and Abdallah. Black and Abdallah will lead into the network show, and then we'll kick off Bears Packers 325.
Dude,
Biggest game of the year.
The juice for this game, I've never felt juice like this in probably 7 years.
Yeah,
To be honest, this is probably bigger than any of those Bears games of 2018. Like, we're probably talking about like 2009.
I'm so excited to watch this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be incredible.
Yeah.
And especially 15 degrees at kickoff. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
That's real football.
Listen, I don't think you could find a way for me to be out there to watch this game, but from the confines of my living room,
Yeah, it's gonna be
cannot
great.
wait.
All right, I want to dive into college football before we get to the games because there aren't that many of them. I do want to. I want to bring up Penn State. Everybody basically has made their hires at this point. Like
Yeah.
Arkansas got Silverfield, Florida got Sumrall. The list goes on. If you made a firing, you've made a hiring. But nobody has gotten coaches paid like Penn State has gotten coaches paid.
And has also probably inflated the crumble cookie stock along the way as well.
Unbelievable. How about James Franklin at his intro presser with a crumble cookie box sitting on the table? Honest to God, too, if you could point the finger at one person and say you are responsible for the downfall of Penn State, and that one person is neither Sandusky or Paterno, it's James Franklin.
Yes.
Because I could make the argument they are in a worse position now than they were after they got punished for the Jopa stuff.
Yes, I'll say yes in a vacuum, but I also think in this era of college football, it's easier to spin it around than what it was in the Joe Pa.
That's probably true. The problem they had, so I'll lay it out. As of right now, they rank 150th in the country in recruiting.
They're behind Harvard and Yale.
They're sandwiched between they're sandwiched between South Dakota State. San Diego State would be decent. Be nice to be in the conversation relative to where they're at. They're sandwiched between South Dakota State and Prairie View A&M in the recruiting rankings. They are dead last among FBS schools. They have a grand total after early signing day of 2 recruits because Franklin flipped their entire class virtually to go to Virginia Tech, which means whoever they end up hiring is going to have to fill 95% of the scholarships with portal players.
Yep.
Which means you're going to field an FCS team.
You're basically going to be what Colorado was in year 1 under Dion, but
Except
without
you won't-
Travis
yeah.
Hunter or Shador Sanders.
You'll be what Colorado was without good players.
Yes.
Like you are fielding an FCS team. You're going to be Big Ten North Dakota State. You're going to finish last in the Big Ten. That's what you are signing up for.
Yes.
But I think the real level of how unattractive and how bad this job became, you got to highlight all the guys who were in talks to take it and what they did instead. Matt Rule stayed at Nebraska. It hasn't gone well at Nebraska. And he's like, I'm going to stay here. Jeff Brom, who finished middle of the pack in one of the worst ACCs in history, stayed at Louisville.
Yeah.
Take your pick of guys that they spoke to who took an extension. But the one that really stuns me is Bob Chesney. Because I thought Bob Chesney was built for this job.
Yes.
He has spent his entire career in either New England or the DMV area. He's recruited the heart and soul of Penn State's pipeline. That's been his entire life as a college football coach. He has never coached south of Baltimore or west of Philadelphia ever in his career. He went to UCLA.
And to be honest, that one feels like, what are you doing, man? And that's not from the Penn State lens. That's from the Bob Chesney lens. You're going out of your element for recruiting.
I agree.
You're going to a lesser job, too.
I agree.
What are you doing?
I
think you're setting yourself up for failure in your first power conference gig.
I think it's totally beside, like, it is I don't think it's going to be successful for Bob Chesney.
No.
How do you ever recruit Los Angeles, having only been in New England and the DMV for your whole life? I don't get why you did it, but it does speak to, holy shit, how bad was Penn State looked at? You know what else speaks to how bad was Penn State looked at? Brian Hartline finally got a head coaching job, and he went to USF.
I think situationally, USF probably in a better spot than Penn State.
100%.
I'm not saying it's a better job. It's not a better job. It's not even close to a better job. But at the stage in the cycle that you are taking the job, USF probably a better spot.
Well, USF, you can win the American, you can win 9-10 games, and you're going to be viewed as an elite option for a group of or a Power 4 school in a couple years. There's a world where, look, man, Brian Hartline, a lot of people view him as the engine at Ohio State. If Ohio State falls off at all without him and Ryan Day ends up getting out, Hartline comes right back home.
Now, I would say this about Hartline. If he were to take the Penn State job, how many of his guys flip their commitment from Ohio State to Penn State? Because Hartline is one of the top recruiters in the entire country.
100%. But I found it interesting. Like, I got the notification, Brian Hartline's taking a coaching job. I'm like, okay, Penn State makes it. Oh, whoa, USF, okay. Yeah. It was just really surprising to me. I think that Penn State's in a unique spot where this is, I would say it's the least attractive situation for a head coach to sign paperwork since SMU got the death penalty. How do you talk yourself into taking this job? You know you're dead after year 2. If you're not dead after year 1, you're going to finish last in the Big Ten. There's a world where they're 0-9 in the Big Ten next year.
I do think, though, you're going into this job with the university and, quite frankly, the fan base giving you some grace and leash because they know they are walking into an impossible situation this late in the cycle because they've absolutely gotten fucked by guys saying no. Who probably shouldn't be saying no either, which goes into the broader scheme of things of what are these negotiations looking like? Like, what are they just completely lowballing these coaches? Are they like, what are these negotiations looking like at Penn State? Because you can't tell me, Jeff Brom, that you should not be making the leap to Penn State. I mean, and I think Jeff Brom's a good coach, but you had a down year this year, and you're not going to make the leap to Penn State? Like, that would be falling upwards.
The question I had about Jeff Brom is, do you leave your alma mater for a job where you know first 2 years you're losing? And
but
the
you
other
may
problem,
not be losing first 2 years if you accepted this in like week 12 of the season.
Maybe, but I think that's where Pat Kraft fucked this whole thing up. The AD at Penn State.
He went fishing for bigger fishes.
You fired James Franklin with no plan in place. And honest to God, dude, if you had told me, like I said 6 weeks ago, when you brought up James Franklin potentially to Michigan State, I'm like, why would he pick up the phone? Michigan State apparently was a much more attractive job than Penn State because donors were going to back the guy they were going to hire. Now, they were going to hire Fitz. I think it's like going back to October, they knew that Fitz was their guy. But they were putting all this stuff in the pipeline of we're going to get $1 billion investment. Magic Johnson is going to parachute in and be involved again. I'm like, holy shit. The problem I would have at Penn State, and now the donors reportedly are all backing Terry Smith, the interim head coach, as the guy that they want to elevate him to the permanent job. So whoever you hire, I think you're going to have the Jonathan Smith situation where the donors never accept that person. And that means you're dead. You're just dead.
What I would say if I was Penn State, there's a couple things here. First of all, with the Terry Smith situation, I think your best course of action at this point is to keep him. But you're not lifting the interim tag off of him. And maybe that's a slap in the face to Terry Smith, but at the stage that you're in right now, you cannot commit to Terry Smith long term.
Yeah.
But you also need someone to coach your football team for the foreseeable future.
And I think Terry Smith would know what that is. If they make him the head coach for next season, he knows he's being set up as the fall guy.
But he's also auditioning. Like, if you somehow, given your circumstances, if Penn State were to somehow pop a 7-5 season,
It'd be unbelievable.
then you stick with that guy. It'd be similar to what happened with David Braun at Northwestern. He came in with the interim tag, and then boom, all of a sudden, he went out and had a dream season for Northwestern. I think they went, 8-4 or 7-5. And given the circumstances of what Northwestern was,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of similar.
I could even argue it would be more impressive at Penn State because David Braun, at least everything went down in like June or July when it was impossible for kids to transfer out, and he got to keep all the kids. This would be Terry Smith taking over with an entire recruiting class that bailed on him and having to build it all through the portal. If you could pop a 6-win season, I think it would be incredible.
Yeah, I would also say, but the infrastructure at Penn State in terms of like the kids who are on the roster and may stick around better than what Northwestern had going into the year.
Their problem, and we'll have to wait and see on it, it's ultimately going to be you're going to lose the most talented players on your roster to the NFL.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a crop of other talented players on that roster are going to leave via the portal. It's getting to a point. I don't know how Penn State's going to field a team next year. Yeah. They're going to be doing tryouts and putting walk-ons in.
Yeah. If you want to play college football, go walk on at Penn State.
Seriously, honest to God. If you have a kid who's a student at Penn State, tell him to try out for the football team.
Get some free gear out of it.
I'm not even kidding either.
You
Just
get to
tell
walk
him to
around
try
with
out.
a backpack. You get to be the backpack guy with the numbers stitched on your backpack.
The other thing I wanted to bring up before we get to the games, did you see Dave Portnoy's comments this week?
I did, but real quick before that, I wanted to bring up something to you, and we'll probably discuss it a little bit more on Saturday when we do the show. On the Penn State front, who says no in the Brian Kelly and Penn State marriage?
Brian Kelly.
You think Brian Kelly says no?
I think he's really got to rehab his image. If I were him, I would not take that job. I don't think it's the place you want to land. I don't think he'd get donor support.
But would you take it next year?
Maybe. I would have to believe the donors are going to be behind me. And I think that's
they would be.
I'll put it this way. I think Brian Kelly's best thing that he could do is take a year off and let all of the sour taste that came out after he was fired at LSU go away for a little bit. Because right now you're hiring the guy that everybody, including his players, hates. No one likes this dude.
That's fair.
If you let it go away and become a year-old story, then maybe you can work your way back into being accepted. If you hire him now, it's an emergency hire. The donors won't back it, and then you're going to end up firing him after a year and a half because they'll be terrible.
I don't know if the donors wouldn't back it because that's a pretty big fish to land. I know it didn't work out at LSU, but let's not forget it was working really well at Notre Dame when he was there. And this is probably the better landing spot for him in terms of recruiting base. Coaches in the Midwest want to help Brian Kelly. I feel like you're probably right in that he doesn't want the job now, but he would want the job in a year. And I think that maybe you do TV for a year.
Yeah.
Like go do NBC for a year, right?
Rehab yourself
Rehab your image. The Notre Dame fans, I mean, they probably feel some type of way about you, but that is what it is. You can go out, find yourself in the good graces of the rest of the college football world, and then you'll be probably the biggest fish in the pond next year, right?
Maybe, unless do we have to reframe the way we view Brian Kelly into sort of the way we view Bill Belichick now? Where like he's kind of just become a pariah a little bit. How crazy is it that Penn State went through a laundry list of names that included a guy like Kamani Satake at BYU before Brian Kelly ever came up?
Yeah. And maybe it
got launched in the room and everybody was like, no, we're not doing that.
I'm trying to think if there's some Pat Kraft tie that I'm missing here. Because Kraft, I believe, went Temple to BC to Penn State, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, I can't find the link there.
All right. Portnoy comments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Basically just said if Bryce Underwood asks for more money, he's not getting it. Which one, I immediately saw it and I'm like, how ridiculous is it that a major media personality can get on a podcast or a platform and just go, yeah, I'm not going to pay this kid any more money at the school that I funded. I'm like, well, this sport has lost it. But the second part was, if I'm Bryce Underwood, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm probably leaving anyway. Doesn't it feel like the right call for him to get out of there?
Well, I think there's two tentacles off of this. One, is there any talking head in America that is contributing more to NIL than Portnoy?
I doubt it. Is there any talking head in America that's contributing at all?
They're probably, like, I bet Big Cat does something for Wisconsin.
Sure.
Like,
I should say non-Barstool. Like anybody who's on a Fox set regularly or an ESPN set regularly. Do you think Herbie's given to Ohio State? I don't. Is Kid went to Michigan.
what about, like, do you think, like, Leinert's given anything to USC or
Maybe, but not. Well, maybe.
Reggie or
is-
Ingram are given to their respective schools?
Let's also be real. None of those guys have Portnoy money or Larry Ellison money.
Well, and that was the second part here. Portnoy can say all he wants. If Larry Ellison wants Bryce Underwood to stay at Michigan, or if Larry Ellison's wife wants Bryce Underwood to stay at Michigan, guess who's staying at Michigan?
Bryce Underwood. I wish anybody involved in this, and like, granted, I get they all are Michigan fans and they want the team to be good. Somebody, God, me, the humanist, somebody think of the fucking player, please. He doesn't belong there. It doesn't make sense. Why Bryce Underwood he was the number one quarterback in America. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't be throwing 18 passes a game. Yeah. He shouldn't be capping out at 9 touchdowns as a freshman. He shouldn't be in a under center single back offense where it's turn and hand the ball off. Like, Michigan's running the football 45 to 50 times a game. That's not the offense the number one quarterback in America should be in. Yeah. And I don't think Sharon Moore wanted him. At no point in the conversation was it Sharon Moore really went out and wanted to get Bryce Underwood. It was Larry Ellison and Dave Portnoy wanted to get Bryce Underwood and paid the money to do it. So I was having
Although I do think, what coach is going to turn down the number one quarterback in the country?
Of course, but like, if you asked Sharon Moore, am I the right not that he would, I don't even know if he could answer it appropriately. I'd ask you, is Sharon Moore the right coach to be developing Bryce Underwood?
No, and partially because I don't think he should be the coach of Michigan in the first place.
I agree.
Either. I think he's a little underqualified for what the Michigan program is. Now,
I agree.
They haven't been awful. Like, let's not act like there was a world they were going to be in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, but it's not, I'm not even saying that they were bad, but Bryce was underwhelming. And the fact that it ended without a Big Ten championship and without developing him at all, you wasted a year, basically.
Yeah.
You're not going to make the playoff, have fun in the Gator Bowl or wherever you end up, and your quarterback improved from the start of the season to the end of the season. Remember, it was week 3 at Oklahoma when they hit him, or week 2, whenever that game was played. They completely hit him in the game plan. And then the final game of the year against your arch rival, he throws 18 passes.
I mean, it was shitty conditions out, but yeah.
You get my point, though. Like, he wasn't a part of the game plan. It was turn and hand the ball off. Mm-hmm. If I'm Bryce Underwood, I go to LSU. And I got in an argument with Cap off the air this morning about this because he brought up the Dave Portnoy stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I can't do that. I can't be a mercenary. If I go to a program, I choose to be someplace, I got to stay there and see it through. I look at it differently. He didn't pick Michigan. He's a mercenary at Michigan. Yeah. He picked LSU. And I think LSU's the better place for him. What better place than LSU with Lane Kiffin to develop into an NFL quarterback?
Yep. And it's what Lane's done. He's dominated the portal, and he's done it especially with the quarterbacks too. And he's gotten these quarterbacks drafted and paid on top of that. So I think it's the perfect match for him. And you know that LSU's got the resources now to go buy players. Now, do they have the donors to go get players? We're about to find out.
Yeah.
We're about to find out. Boy, what a bait and switch it would be. What if Larry Ellison says, all right, tells his wife, you got your piece of Bryce Underwood at Michigan. Now he's coming to my alma mater. Now he's coming to Illinois in conference.
Dude, it's not even like people are going to take this because of me. They're going to take this as anti-Bryce. They're going to take this as anti-Michigan. It's neither of those things. I think Bryce is very good, and I think Michigan football can be elite. I don't think the two make sense together.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, when have you seen Michigan have the gunslinger?
Never.
They've always been like even J.J. McCarthy wasn't he like the number 1 or number 2 pocket passer in his class?
I think he was top 3 in.
He was
position.
a 5-star. Yeah, he was like one of the top recruits. He was a top 10 recruit in the country in his class. They didn't utilize him, and it probably has stunted his development to why it's at where it's at now in the NFL.
And that was my point with Cap was unless you're going to hire a coach who's going to run a shotgun spread offense and modernize what Michigan football is, then I don't think you can have Bryce Underwood. And if you're going to go with a coach like Sharon Moore who wants to play hardball ball and line up and run it, then you can't have that quarterback.
Like I think the best way, and this won't happen, at least not this year, but the best way for Bryce Underwood to succeed would be if Lincoln Riley was the head coach at Michigan.
Yeah. Which, hey, could that also be a landing spot?
Not this year, but you're saying, yeah, for him to go to USC? Yeah, certainly could be in the cards. Certainly.
So I just found that interesting. Like, I am somebody who does not believe Bryce Underwood's going to be the quarterback at Michigan next year, but we'll wait and see on that. I think it would be a terrible mistake by him if he stayed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, to me, right now you can transfer to LSU. Right now you can transfer to USC. If you go to Michigan again and it's bad again, then your options become like Tulane or Baylor.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, you're probably right because who was the guy that Malachi Nelson, who started at USC and then it was so bad he had to go to Boise State.
And then he got hurt and lost the job to Maddox Madsen.
Yeah.
And now he's dead. I don't know where he even is.
I think he's at UTSA, if I'm remembering correctly, something like that.
Bryce, don't let that become you.
Yeah.
It strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the plays for the weekend. We got every conference title game we'll at least bring up. I think most of them non-Power 4 edition, we're probably not going to spend much, if any, time on. Like, just for example, I haven't watched a down of Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State this year.
Neither have I.
Sorry, I had other things going on. Yeah. So I don't have a thought on the 2.5-point spread in the CUSA game. Troy and James Madison. James Madison's going to win the game. Do I want to lay 23 points? I have no idea.
Championship game. I
haven't watched Troy State very much. The Mountain West title has no playoff implication. Yeah. It's 2 fun teams. If you made me bet it, it would probably be UNLV, but I think it's fascinating that Boise's a 4.5-point favorite.
How the hell is Dan Mullen not being floated around for jobs?
It's a great point.
He's done an excellent job and probably should not have been fired from Florida in the first place.
It's a great point. Yeah, he's done great at UNLV. And maybe he'll just stay there for another year and get something really high profile. Or maybe that's just his forever home. That would be funny.
It'll probably be like Dan Mullen's going to be one of probably the 3 most coveted names next year.
You can win 11 games in the Mountain West. A lot of years that's going to get you in the playoff.
Yeah.
But Friday night, we do have at least one game that I want to talk about because I have a play on it. North Texas Tulane in the American Championship game, live from Ullman Stadium because they play home games. I love it.
Yeah.
These smaller conferences that play home games. North Texas is a 2-point favorite going on the road to Tulane.
Yep.
Automatic fire. And the biggest reason why here, like, you have to factor it in, John Sumrall's gone. He's the head coach of Florida.
In fairness, so is North Texas's coach.
Right, but doesn't it feel more impactful on the Tulane side a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think it's impactful both sides when you're talking about group of 5 coaches taking the leap here. And, like, these coaches are still coaching these games. I think there's something. Everyone's talking about like the distractions, who's going to be distracted and stuff like that. To me, I liken it to when you were in school and you had an assignment due now and you had an assignment due 3 weeks from now. Which one were you taking care of? You're taking care of the one that's here and now. And I think you understand the stakes of what's here and now. You've got GMs and stuff that can handle all of the recruiting stuff at these other schools. You're on the other side of signing day now too. I would say, if you want, and I'm with you, I like North Texas in the 2.
The better reason beyond Summerall is you get maybe the best quarterback in the country that nobody knows
Drew
about on the North Texas side.
He is going to be one of the most coveted guys in the portal when it's all said and done. And if you want further reason for this, too, when you look at Tulane, they've only played 2 top 30 EPA offenses this year, Duke and Ole Miss. They beat Duke by a touchdown at home and got blasted 45-10 at Ole Miss. North Texas by offensive EPA is better than both of those schools. North Texas is 4th in the country. You look at the total in this game. Total 67.5. I saw that. I was like, whoa. And then you look at the numbers that North Texas has put up this year. North Texas has gone over in 9 of their 12 games this year. And you weren't looking at totals of something in the high 40s or low 50s. Every single week, it's 58, 59, or like mid 60s. Like, this team plays offense. They've scored 50-plus in each of their last 3 games. I just think North Texas is going to be too much of an offensive juggernaut for Tulane to keep up.
Yeah, and Drew Messmaker just rips the football. I mean, it's every game is like 400 yards passing. He's got close to 4,000 yards in the 12 games that they've played, completing north of 70% of his passes. Yeah. He's been fantastic this year. And I think the other part of it is when you really look at North Texas is 11-1, what they've accomplished, how good their offense is, it doesn't make sense that Tulane is ranked ahead of them.
No.
So I think you see in the ranking, and that's where it becomes an auto fire, is I have a higher ranked Tulane team that I don't think is as good as North Texas, and North Texas is going on the road against a higher ranked team and laying points. It's the old college basketball thought of like, what's wrong here?
Yeah.
And you just ride the lightning. But I know I'm getting the better quarterback. Retzlaff has been disappointing.
Yeah.
To an extent. He's turned the ball over a ton. The passing touchdowns haven't been there, only 14 on the year. Not exactly what Tulane thought they were getting. Obviously, late window, there was some stuff in play there. Some stuff. But yeah, I like North Texas laying 2.5.
Yep. All right, we align.
All right, moving on to Saturday, where we've got all the Power 5 games. BYU Texas Tech leads us off, 11 a.m. Texas Tech's a 12.5-point favorite. The total is 49.5.
By the way, have you seen this game is on pace to be the most attended Big 12 championship ever?
Really? Mormons showing out.
BYU, Texas Tech. The Tech side I get.
Yeah.
Games in Dallas.
I imagine it's mostly Lubbock coming to play. Because, dude, Lubbock has waited 15 years for a team like this. They haven't been able to dream of a Big 12 title since Michael Crabtree was playing for them.
Yeah. Crabtree and Graham Harrell. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
That's always like the most iconic play to me. I remember watching this live when Crabtree catches the ball on the sideline, turns upfield against Texas. Like that is a core college football memory for me.
It was one of the great games of like my adolescence when I was in high school. I remember Texas Tech top 10 matchup, and you are looking like it was the greatest.
Everything.
I don't have a play on the side here. 12.5 is a little rich for my blood. I know Tech blew out BYU the last time they played. Look, BYU I think is pretty good defensively. I do think that they are compromised offensively when they go up against a defense like Tech where they can get in your face. They're going to get home rushing the passer. David Bailey's a nut. I think Texas Tech is offensively challenged because I can't fucking stand the way that they play. This nonsense where it's you've got receivers, 2 receivers on either side lined up outside the hashes and a 5-man offensive line against a fairly loaded box. And I'm just like, you're going to get your quarterback killed. It's what killed them scoring against BYU, where they were turning 7 into 3. They couldn't move the ball down the field because everything, once they get into the red zone and you're trying to use the whole field, they need to condense sets more. I hate watching it. I'm going under 49.5.
Okay.
I think both teams struggle to score. I think the likeliest outcome is Tech wins this somewhere like 20-0, but I don't want to flirt with a point spread where if BYU scores at all, I'm in trouble.
Okay. I do like Tech in this game at 12.5 because I view it as like offensively, these teams are pretty even. Probably slight advantage to Texas Tech. But defensively, and BYU's been good, but they're not nearly on the level that Texas Tech is. Like Texas Tech, you mentioned there were a lot of drives that stalled out and turned into 3 instead of 7. Texas Tech was still moving the ball and getting into the red zone. Like they kicked 5 field goals in this game. 4 of them were inside of 40 yards.
Yep.
I just feel like they finish a few more of those drives. Because if you take the quarterback sacks out of it, this team was hitting BYU for 5.5 yards a pop on the ground. So I think they continue a lot of that in this game. You look at the last 3 weeks, Texas Tech has only allowed 16 total points, 7 of which came against BYU. And they've had the ability to shut down Bear Bachmeier. And for as good as what this BYU defense has been, we've also seen some of the good fortune. Like that Cincinnati game, how many breaks did they get in that game, right? And I just feel like you get controlled conditions inside at Jerry World. I like Texas Tech a lot in this game. They've already proven they're the much better team once, and I think you're just going to see it play out again.
Yeah, I think where I end up getting in trouble playing the total is what you brought up. I don't worry about Texas Tech's offense between the 40s when they have the entire or between the 20s, rather, when they have the whole field to work with because of the way they open it up, and they can hit some explosives. If those explosives end in touchdowns, where those plays end up in the end zone, I'm going to be in trouble. But if it plays the way it did last time these two teams played, where you get the explosive plays between the 20s, but then you have to make this funky offense work in the red zone, that's been Tech's struggle all season. Yeah. Red zone offense has not been kind to them. No. So that's where I'm relying on. They're going to struggle to move the ball inside the 20, and that takes me to an under.
I think they were also trying to figure out what is offense like with Baron Morton back, too, in that BYU game, because they had some quarterback shuffle because of injury with Baron Morton. So, like, you had some of those difficulties, but now that he's back, and you look at the last 2 weeks, I get you played West Virginia and UCF, but you're popping 40-plus on them. It feels like you've got a little bit of something there.
I want to look at something just quickly on the Texas Tech side, because I want to just verify the stat before I give it up. Talk amongst yourselves.
We'll do. This. We'll be at Beck's in Lincoln Park, Texas Tech Bar. I can't believe those exist in the Chicagoland area.
89th in touchdown percentage in the red zone this year, Texas Tech. That's where I've watched it all year, where they spread the whole offense out. The field's too condensed to be doing the stuff that they do offensively when you're inside the 20-yard line.
I do think
that doesn't mean that I don't think you can hit like minus 12.5 is the only way I'd play it. Yeah. Because BYU is going to struggle to score it all.
And to be honest, I would say under 49.5 is the only way I'd play it too.
Yeah. All right, Georgia, Bama. 3:00, because I don't give a fuck about the MAC title game.
Yeah.
I apologize to all of our MAC listeners. I'll hit you with a bullet point thought on it. Miami of Ohio wins this game. It's what they do. If you had to bet it, I would bet Miami of Ohio, but I know Western Michigan's had a nice year.
I was just going to say I couldn't tell you who was playing the other side.
Georgia, Bama. Georgia's a 2.5-point favorite. Game, obviously, semi-home field advantage for Georgia. They're playing in Atlanta. The total's 47.5. Where are you going?
Bama.
Same.
Bama plus the 2.5. I think they outright win the game.
I do too.
You look at the last couple weeks with Georgia, they've kind of shut down. And maybe it's because they know they're in the SEC title game. They haven't played an SEC game in 3 weeks now. But the Charlotte game, we told you, they don't cover spreads of north of 35. Mm-hmm. That was one of those cases, 35-3, yeah. But against Charlotte, we saw what some of these other SEC teams did to the Samfords and the EIUs of the world, where they were going out and blasting them like 60-3, right? And then last week against Georgia Tech, you were in a position where you could have lost that game. Like, Georgia Tech had the ball at the end of the game, and you ended up only winning that game 16-9. So I look at those, and I don't know what Georgia team's going to show up right now. They were a team that the last time they did play an SEC game, they popped Texas.
Yep.
But if you remember that game, it was really close for 3 quarters, and Texas was not playing well. Texas was giving the ball away, and then in that fourth quarter, Gunnar Stockton put on a show. He was tremendous in that fourth quarter, and you had the kick return touchdown and everything too, and the onside kick and everything that was crazy in that game. But I feel like I haven't seen like a sustained good Georgia performance in a while. Like, even that Ole Miss game that they won, they let Ole Miss score on every single drive for the first 5 drives. They scored touchdowns on each of their first 5 drives. And then just the Georgia defense came out and showed up in the fourth quarter. And I just wonder if this game plays out similarly. Like, if you remember that first meeting between Bama and Georgia, Bama dominated them in the first half.
Yep.
Dominated them offensively. But then Georgia came back and shut them down in the second half. Problem for Georgia was that Bama defense kind of did the same thing. They only allowed 7 points in the second half. Bama scored none. You end up in a 24-21 game. So I like Bama. I just think, they need this game way more than Georgia does.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia can lose this, and the consequences, they'll
Play a home game.
play a home game. Yeah. Like, you're not going to get the bye, and maybe the bye is important, but we saw last year that the bye actually seemed like hurt more teams than it helped.
Yeah.
Georgia included.
Yep.
So I think, everything's kind of pointing me to Bama in this game.
I agree. And I looked at last week against Georgia, or with Georgia against Georgia Tech. That one really just stood out to me. So, because look, it was the lowest passing yards in a win in Kirby Smart's career as Georgia's head coach. And it wasn't like they were running the ball and just popping Georgia Tech. They were not playing well. Offensively, they were so limited. And really, since the Tennessee game, and I think we've learned about Tennessee's defense, holy shit, everybody scores. Really, since that game, Gunnar Stockton has not been good at any point. So it all came back to Alabama for me. The other thing that sold it was Bama is not getting the public money. Georgia's a public side, and this number's stuck at 2.5. Tells me all I need to know. They're laying a little trap for you. Like, if you believe in that type of shit, it feels like a kind of trappy line. I like Bama on the money line, but I'm going to take them on the 2.5 because I don't want to get fucked by a 2-point conversion or some other nonsense.
Or overtime. You get to triple overtime and you're golden.
Right. And I do think your other point about how badly Bama needs this, it's important because it's like when they say out in the wild, there's no more dangerous animal than one that's injured. Bama is an injured animal right now.
Yeah.
If they don't win this game, it sounds like based on everybody who's around the committee, they're out.
Although, have you seen the odds of them to get in right now?
Yeah.
Minus 1,800 to make the playoff, right?
Which is fascinating to me.
And I wanted to ask you this, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit more on Saturday, but Bama right now, in the latest playoff rankings, moved up past Notre Dame. They swapped spots with Notre Dame. If you look from a week ago, who had the more impressive win? Notre Dame blasting Stanford, what was it, like 49-20? Or Bama squeaking past Auburn 27-20? Like, Notre Dame had the more impressive victory in my eyes. Like, the opposition, neither of them are very good. Neither of them are playing with a true head coach right now.
It again comes down to intentionality to me, where they set it up so that they don't have to punish a conference title game up
That's
here.
exactly what I was going to ask you. It seems like they bumped up Bama so that as long as Bama hangs around, like if Bama goes out and loses this game by 30, I don't think they're in. But I just don't think that's going to happen in the game either.
Well, it's why I disagree with you fundamentally on the thought where you brought up, like, if Texas Tech loses to BYU, they're out. No,
I think it's a little different SEC versus Big 12.
It is for sure, but we saw it last year. It was different ACC versus SEC, and they chose to keep SMU in, which is like, I don't think they would leave Texas Tech out. I think they've set it up very intentionally that if there is any level of chaos at all, Notre Dame is going to be the victim.
Okay.
And it'll be punishment for not playing in a conference, which, great, go fuck yourself.
Notre Dame will laugh their way to the bank.
Duke and Virginia. Virginia, 17th ranked in the country. This game kicks off at 7 o'clock. Virginia's a 4.5-point favorite. The total's 57.5. I do not have a play here. I don't know if you do.
This is one of my favorite plays.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because I was going to offer you I don't necessarily believe in it, but it would be fun. And I want to walk into the abyss one last time with Duke on the money line, rooting for chaos.
I'm on the other side.
Okay,
I
I'll
think
stay
it's
away
Virginia. Isn't the call in from Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, for Virginia to win this game?
Counterpoint. If he wanted to put the call in, wouldn't he have just been adjusting tiebreakers in the previous week to make sure Duke couldn't get here at all?
I think that's a little... You can't change your tiebreakers.
There were people saying that they should have. I was reading articles where people were like, they should have changed this so that Miami would go.
I think, they realize that Virginia's probably going to win the football. I mean, we've seen this game already take place in Durham a couple of weeks ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And not only did Virginia beat them, they beat them by 17 points on the road.
Yep.
But if you look at the box score of that game, too, first of all, 7 of those Duke points came on a pick six. Virginia outgained Duke on the road 543 to 255 and lost the turnover battle. Duke didn't get a single sack in the game. Virginia got 4. we just saw Tony Elliott's offense dominate Manny Diaz's defense, and they've had matchups going back to their days in the ACC when Manny was the head coach at Miami and Tony Elliott was the OC at Clemson. We've seen how this plays out before, and I just think that Virginia's just going to pound Duke in this game.
All right, I'm going to stay away from it. You're taking the ACC commissioner has put in the call route. I don't hate it.
I should have worn my ACC football hat today.
Yep, that would have been great. Yeah. I hate that hat so fucking much.
I'll wear it Saturday for you.
It leads us to the final game, the best game, probably the best game of the season, undoubtedly the best game of the season, right?
Yeah.
Big Ten title.
I mean, you got one. This is the only 1 versus 2 of the year, right? Because Ohio State, Texas was 1 versus 3.
And it's the battle of the last 2 undefeateds in FBS football. Ohio State laying 4 in Indianapolis against number 2 Indiana. The total's 47.5. This is my favorite play of the week, college or pro.
Okay.
This is a quad bomb. Buckeyes are tapping that ass.
This is the Ohio State.
Dude, I think this is going to be no mercy kind of spot. Like I've watched so much of both these teams. Obviously, I'm a Big Ten guy. This isn't going to be a fun year where we get to the college football playoff bracket and I start looking at teams that didn't get the bye, and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like this team at 9-1. Ooh, I kind of like this team at 7-1. Ohio State's going to win the national title running the fuck away from everybody else. This is the best version I have seen of Ohio State, maybe in my life. I think Julian Sayin might be the most pure quarterback prospect we've seen since Tua or Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He's unreal. The deep ball is the best I've seen since Penix, but it doesn't have that same fucking scrape the sky feel to it. It's like a laser beam.
He's got the classic Ohio State deep ball, doesn't he?
Yep.
Like you already can see Olave or just pick your Ohio State receiver, Ted Ginn flying down the sideline.
Curtis Samuel.
Catching a deep ball. Yes. Sayin's one of my favorites, and it's a shame for any team that's going to be drafting in the top 3 this year that he's not in the race to be a part of this class. He's going to be in the next class.
He's incredible. And even more importantly, they answered so many of the questions that existed preseason because they lost so much of their defensive line and had to replace all of it. And obviously they had the bizarre exodus of Jim Knowles. Matt Patricia has been incredible. And I hate Matt Patricia. I think he's a terrible defensive coordinator at the NFL level. But at the college level, and with the toys that he has up front that they have found through the recruiting, and Caleb Downs playing the back, playing center field, Patricia has been able to deploy things in such exotic ways, college quarterbacks can't handle it.
Yeah.
I think OSU is going to open a can of whoop ass on an Indiana fan base that I imagine is going to show up and show out.
Here's the difference, though. Because, yes, I think there will be a good IU showing. Ohio State fans bought these tickets when they were released.
Bingo.
Indiana fans are scouring the secondary market looking for $1,000 tickets.
Do you know how many Indiana fans I've spoken to where I'm like, are you going to the game? And they're like, I looked at the prices and no.
Yeah, I've gotten a number of those as well.
It's like every Indiana fan in my life, I'm like, you got to be going to this game, right? And they're all like, yeah, can't afford it.
Yeah.
Because Ohio State bought these tickets in August.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they're different, man. And it's one of those years, unlike the NFL where there is no great team this year, this is a year where there is a great team in college football, and it's Ohio State.
Yeah, and it's kind of going under the radar because I feel like they haven't had the marquee matchup aside from week 1. And that's when they looked at their weakest, but that was also week 1 of a college football season.
They haven't had the gauntlet schedule that you get in the SEC, where people started paying respect to 2019 LSU before they became 2019 LSU.
Yeah.
But I do think that we're going to see Ohio State here go on, what do they play, 3 games in the playoff if they go to the national title game?
With a bye, yeah.
I think we're going to see a 4-game span here where this team cements themselves as one of the best of all time.
Yeah, and which is crazy to think, but this is probably the best quarterback prospect they've had. Insane, and he can't even come out to the draft yet. He's better than, I mean, the Cardell Jones thing wasn't real, but he's better than Braxton Miller, obviously. Troy Smith.
Yeah, Troy Smith.
Fields.
I think he's better than Stroud. I think he's incredible.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, He's completing damn near 80% of his passes. Not 70, 80% of his passes. Like, that's how efficient he's been as a passer this year.
And it's not like it's not Bo Nix at Oregon where it's happening behind the line of scrimmage and he's like a screen merchant.
No.
He's ripping the football.
Yes, and he's making some really impressive throws. So if you want some like further numbers, like breaking down the matchup of this, the strength of Indiana this year has been their defensive line.
Yep.
The way that they can get, I mean, you want to see the teach tape on it, go to that Illinois game from earlier this season.
A clinic.
It completely broke the Illini in that game, and that's why I forget what the final score was. It like 60-7 or something like that. They crushed Illinois. But if you look at Ohio State against Big Ten schools who rank in the top 40 in the nation in sacks this year, Minnesota is the only team that actually has more sacks than Indiana in the Big Ten this year. Ohio State beat them 42-3. They went 34-0 at Wisconsin, 38-14 against Penn State, 27-9 against Michigan. The theme here is they dominated and they covered in all of those games against teams that still get after the quarterback.
Yep.
That's how good the offensive line is. Neither team is turnover reliant either. Neither of these teams turn the ball over. Neither of these teams really get a lot of turnovers either. And then the last part is when you are going up against a top 50 EPA defense, this is what Indiana's done this year. Against top 50 EPA defenses, they won 20-15 at Iowa, 30-20 at Oregon, 27-24 at Penn State, 31-7 against Wisconsin. So some of their closer matchups of the season, none of those teams have the offense like Ohio State has.
Yep.
None of them. So you may be able to provide resistance to. So when Indiana's going up against a defense that has some level of resistance, they've been shuttered a little bit, all but really one of those games. But none of those teams are going to be able to provide the offensive attack that Ohio State has.
I think the key, too, is I don't think that they're two backs. Really, they have three in James Peoples, Bo Jackson, C.J. Donaldson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that any of their backs are close to as good as what they had last year when they had Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson.
I mean, that you're talking about an elite running back tandem last year.
But they are rushing the ball more on a per-game basis and for more yards on a per-game basis than they did a year ago. Because I think, what did I keep saying all of last year? If there's one thing that's going to stop Ohio State from winning a natty, it's the O-line.
Yeah.
Their O-line this year might be the best in the country. So it's just like...
Which is crazy because they lost like 2 or 3 pieces from last year. It's
Dude,
part of why we weren't very high on them.
They've done an incredible job of rebuilding both lines of scrimmage and maybe improving both lines of scrimmage, which is even more insane to say when you lost Jack Sawyer and JTT from a year ago to say your defensive line might be better.
Yeah.
They're incredible. And if you haven't watched them and you plan on watching Saturday night, look, I'm not sitting here telling you we're going to be right. There's a world Indiana wins the game. Mm-hmm. I saw my school go in there once upon a time back when we were winning the Big Ten, and we dethroned one of the all-time great Ohio State teams when Urban Meyer was the head coach with Connor Cook and Jeremy Langford and a gang of miscasts on the defense who just like grew up and played the best defense in the country. It can happen. I don't think it's especially likely. And I think you're getting a discount on the number at 4. I'd place this more around 7.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we were talking about like if we could build like a parlay, like a long shot parlay, and one of the things that we liked was maybe a little alternate line on an Ohio State.
Yeah, I could get behind it. I've seen it too much in my life, and really Michigan State's the only school that I've seen overcome it outside of Michigan the last 4 years, obviously, but it helps when you know the other team's plays. Too much in my life I've seen Big Ten schools that are having the dream season, and I said it about Indiana last year. Go to this game and play this team and get the reality check.
Ask Northwest. And Indiana is probably as close of a fight as we've seen in this game.
Yeah.
Like they're better than every other team Ohio State's lined up against or Michigan's
Obviously, they're the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, like we haven't seen this game, but Wisconsin, the Jonathan Taylor Wisconsin teams were not nearly as good as Indiana. But we saw how that ended for them. We saw how Northwestern, it's ended for them. Iowa, it's ended for them. And this is probably just another instance of that.
Yep. All right. Anything you want to hit on before we get out of here?
That's all I got.
All right. We will be back tomorrow, an NFL edition of the Pick a Side. very quickly.
Thursday Night Football.
Lions -3. It is one of my favorite
I do.
NFL plays.
What do you think of the total? Because it is basically, by all intents and purposes, what I like to call a max total in the NFL at 54.5. You do not see numbers higher than that in the NFL.
I will never play an over on a total like this in the National Football League because of what happened last year. Do you remember Vikings-Lions final game of the season, and the total was like 57.5, something nuts. And I'm like, we just got to go over. There's going to be no stops. Goff eviscerates that defense, and the Lions' defense is so dead.
Yeah.
And the Lions' defense rose up like Leviathan and just fucking choke-slammed Minnesota. I'll never bet an over in these spots. But I think it's incredibly telling that Earth is on Dallas, and this won't go under 3 points.
Yeah. The other part of it, too, is that this is not a traditional short week.
Nope, full week.
Both teams get a full week because they both played Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's a full week for both teams. Dallas, mega public. The number's still just not getting south of 3, which tells me they're not comfortable putting it at 2.5 because then you'll get massive action on the Lions. The other part is the Lions don't lose back-to-back games, and it's not over the last 6 weeks they don't lose back-to-back games. Try the last 3.5 years they don't lose back-to-back games. So I love the Lions tonight at Ford Field.
Yeah. I'm not playing it, but it's the side I'd lean.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow, a full NFL slate to get through. This has been another edition of the Pick a Side podcast.